This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell, and another insurance company is making changes. Liberty Mutual sent a letter to agents and brokers today saying that this fall, they'll no longer offer their bundled insurance products for businesses called BOP. Like other companies, they're blaming the decision on California's adverse market. Liberty Mutual will no longer offer a business owner's policy in California that bundles all major property and liability risks into a single package. Liberty Mutual says the new changes will go into effect on October 1st of this year. These types of policies cover small office, retail, and restaurant spaces. An insurance expert we spoke to says,
the real scary part is that they announced that they're going to start non-renewing the entire book of business for that classification. So basically, anyone that has a policy with them, one of those types of policies, starting in December of this year, is going to get non-renewed entirely.
The company added that they remain committed to the insurance market in California and will continue to offer other insurance products for small businesses throughout the state. We reached out to the California Department of Insurance confirming the changes. In a statement, the department noted that this product represents 1% of the Liberty Mutual Group's entire commercial book, which is one of the largest commercial carriers in California. ABC 10 has also learned that another insurance company is considering leaving the state altogether if they cannot come to an agreement with the state over issues like inflation to unprecedented weather events.
And these just unbelievable weather events that have been happening, all of the models that they've had in the past to try and predict things and predict risk and properly come up with a rate for the risk have pretty much gone out the window.
If you have questions about your insurance or your policy, you can contact the California Department of Insurance with your questions at 1-800-927-4357, or you can also go online to insurance.ca.gov and they can help you figure out some of your options right now. And other top stories, a jury trying to determine if a suspected serial killer is competent to stand trial. Former UC Davis student Carlos Dominguez is accused of stabbing 3 people and killing 2 of them. Today, the jury heard more testimony, which included 3 former roommates. They said that they had a meeting where they expressed their concerns about Dominguez potentially being mentally ill. The trial continues tomorrow. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, pled not guilty today, breaking a plea agreement between his legal team and federal prosecutors. He's facing tax charges and a felony gun charge. Several Republicans had criticized the plea agreement, calling it a sweetheart deal, though it was negotiated by Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney for Delaware, who President Biden kept in his role to oversee the investigation. Interest rates are going up again. The Federal Reserve approved another rate hike today that takes interest rates to their highest level in more than 22 years. The Fed's chairman says inflation has moderated, but still has a long way to go. And tonight, Mitch McConnell says that he is fine after he froze for about 30 seconds during a news conference today. Take a look at what happened.
This week has been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
One of McConnell's aides tells CNN that the senator felt lightheaded and stepped away for a moment before coming back to handle a Q&A. U.S. military veterans of all ages have a very important deadline coming up. That could mean money in their pockets and medical care. But the VA is worried that not enough vets know about it. So our Becca Habegger is here to tell us why August 9th is a very important date. Right, Becca?
Yeah, that's right, Alex. You know, for U.S. service members, exposure to things like burn pits or Agent Orange are linked to cancer and other deadly conditions. A new law expands the number of veterans eligible for VA healthcare and disability benefits, saying if you served in these countries during any of these years, we're presuming you were exposed to these toxins, so you're eligible for benefits. And if a veteran files by August 9th, they can get retroactive disability checks for the entire past year.
Maybe you've heard of the PACT Act, signed into law last year by President Biden. It throws the benefits door wide open for hundreds of thousands of veterans who weren't previously eligible.
And so for veterans that are thinking, did I have a toxic exposure? Do I have a chemical hazardous experience while I was in the military? If they file their claim before August 9, they're going to get a whole year's worth of additional service disability payments because it'll retro back.
I hopped on a call with David Stockwell. He's the medical center director for VA Northern California Healthcare System. He says people applying after August 9th can still be eligible for benefits. They just won't get a year's worth of retroactive disability payments. He encourages any veteran to apply or even revisit VA benefits.
Veterans that maybe they got out of the military 30 years ago and they filed a claim, or they filed a claim 10 years ago from their experience back in Vietnam, and they didn't get a good rating. So they're thinking, I already went down that road, why bother? Well, when they created the PACT Act last year, they changed the rules that qualify a veteran to be rated with the disability.
Every veteran deserves benefits.
Steve Werner is president of the Heritage Park Veterans Club in North Natomas and a Vietnam War veteran. I sat down with him and fellow club member Bob Hiltack, who are encouraging veterans of all ages to apply for VA benefits.
In addition to the other things, which you get to see doctors, you get eyeglasses, you get hearing aids, all these things. When you're young, they don't mean very much to you, but when you get to the point where you can't hear, means a whole lot.
If filing before August 9th feels daunting, Stockwell says just get in the pipeline by then.
If a veteran says, well, I have so much homework I've got to do, I won't be ready by August 9th, file your claim, amend your claim, but it'll still retro back and you'll get the benefits back to a year ago.
I firmly believe that the VA and what they're doing for veterans is excellent.
Now, there is another important deadline coming up on September 30th. This applies to every veteran that served in combat after 9/11/2001. If before September 30th of this year, they come in with their DD-214, their discharge papers, they can immediately be eligible and start receiving VA care.
And veterans can actually learn more about the PACT Act benefits at the State Fair of all places, which is really nice.
Yeah, no kidding. Tomorrow at the State Fair is Military Veteran and First Responder Appreciation Day. Now, these folks get in for free tomorrow. In addition to special events, there will be dozens of community booths, including CalVet and others, where folks can ask about signing up for benefits through the PACT Act.
Yeah, and for a list of which veterans are now eligible for VA benefits, make sure you head to our website at abc10.com/links. All right, next on To The Point. The ABC 10 weather team investigates, is California wasting its water? Tonight, we go underground.
And just a minor heat risk this week, quite the drastic change from last week's major and extreme heat risk. How long these lower temperatures will be sticking around.
And people lose keys and wallets in the river, but why are entire cars being found below the surface? Let's get a check of our forecast. Now, I know temperatures are going down. My first question is, does that mean our wildfire risk is going down too?
Not necessarily. We are trading out some of that heat now for some winds. And that's the big deal here. We're drying out the grass. We're seeing the wind speeds pick up. So anything that sparks could carry much further. Highs today were a little cooler, especially around the Sacramento Executive Airport at 92. Not quite as cool, though, for our friends in Stockton at 98, 99 in Oroville. We're starting the trend, though. We're seeing the mid to low 90s there in the foothills with 84 degrees for the high in Truckee. Now, as you look at the daily almanac, Sacramento Executive Airport's average is 93. Downtown's about 95. So we have been just slightly at or below the average today. And right now in the Big Mountain backyard, you're looking at temperatures at 89 in Sacramento, Modesto, and Stockton at 95 with 94 in Marysville, 78 in Tahoe. The high pressure systems that's been bringing us a lot of heat lately. I mean, it's been sitting way over here over California is now shifted toward the east, creating that monsoonal flow of moisture for the desert southwest. Still hot temperatures there. But for us now, we're seeing the low starting to inch its way further south, bringing in a little cooler air, but increasing these wind speeds through the delta. And it's moving its way up toward the northeast. You can even see areas of Medford. There's a fire just there toward the west, and that is bringing in some bad air quality for a lot of areas in southern Oregon. Also increasing winds causing some issues as we look at fire concerns for the northeast portion of the state. The winds are picking up, and we're seeing about 15 to 20 mile per hour winds in the valley. Strong winds over the Sierra Crest and that ridge there up toward the northeast will continue. And then finally, as we move toward the weekend, still a little breezy out there, but temperatures are going to be right around the mid to low 90s still. So that's the good news, avoiding triple digits. Mid to low 90s in the foothills. We'll see about 87 in Forest Hill, 96 in Oroville. Bay Area looking at mid 60s to low 70s, about 84 in Napa, 83 in Santa Rosa. And then the Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley spots, mid to low 90s, still continuing for tomorrow, With the 10-day forecast, though, some good news for us as we will start to see temperatures continue in those mid to low 90s throughout the weekend. Still mid 90s, maybe the hottest day there on Sunday. Mostly sunny to partly sunny skies. We could even see some temperatures dropping into the upper 80s by next Wednesday.
Still ahead, the ABC 10 weather team investigates. Is California wasting its water? Is California wasting its water? That's one of the top questions that we are answering all this week on To The Point. The ABC 10 weather team is investigating where our water is going and if we're wasting it. As reservoirs are forced to make some major releases, tonight meteorologist Carly Gomez looks at if the water could be stored elsewhere.
My fear is that you have a wet year and everyone forgets about the dry years.
It's been a struggle farming with no water. Daniel Bays, like thousands of other farmers, have had their bout with drought.
I would say the stress is probably the hardest part. Part of it, being in the office, looking at the numbers. Part of it just being out in the field with our employees. They depend on this for a job, but a lot of them enjoy what they do and take some pride and ownership in growing a crop and feeding the world.
But dealing with drought isn't new. We can trace it all the way back to 1933. California began re-engineering our water delivery with the Central Valley Project during the Dust Bowl era to deliver water from Northern California to the Central Valley through canals.
California was in the midst of a historic drought. There were just many, many wells going dry, drinking water wells, agricultural wells. Lands were sinking, just a real concern that this is kind of spiraling to a place that is not good for the future of these regions.
And the seriousness of drought has farmers looking for alternative ways to save water. About 400 miles of California's valleys have about 515 underground water basins. But what happens when all that groundwater is not there? Well, communities are hit hard.
You can drill down there and there might be enough water for a domestic well for a house, but if you were going to try and farm with it, the amount of water you get out of there would be such a minimal amount.
If more groundwater is pumped than is replenished, there could be subsidence.
In some places, sinking over 6 feet. In 2014, California passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, giving local water agencies about 10 years to make plans and find solutions to conserving water. Ellen Hannock works with farmers and water managers.
They have to develop long-term plans, look at the numbers first of all. What's the nature of their problem? What's their solution?
The Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency is one example.
The city of Woodland had originally been on groundwater for about 100 years. We switched to Sacramento River surface water in June of 2016. And as part of that project, the city embarked on an aquifer storage and recovery program.
The system of pumps and pipes funnel water from a clean water source like the Sacramento River. A small amount of chlorine is added and is stored underground.
The aquifer layer that we are using is 500 feet down, 50-foot thick layer. At every well site we have in the city, both the native groundwater wells and even farmer wells outside of us, that layer exists kind of everywhere around here.
The big question has been, if there's that much aquifer storage, why aren't we doing more to store excess water underground? Scientists are now beginning to see a clearer picture by mapping what's underground from the sky.
AEM is the Airborne Electromagnetic Surveys that we're doing across California. Think of it as MRI for the subsurface. So it's a way that a helicopter carries a large hoop about 100 feet off the ground, and it sends electrical information into the ground, which bounces off different layers below the ground surface.
This technology is finding where sands and gravels are in comparison to clays and silts. Water is easily able to seep deep underground where sands lay, but with clay, a buffer is created. And NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is taking it even higher with satellites.
What we really get from satellite information is the ability to see the big picture. So contextually, we can kind of tie the whole story together. And we can say, it's not just this farm or this well that's changing, it's the entire southern portion of the Central Valley.
Stanford geophysicist Rosemary Knight has spent 30 years working on geophysics for groundwater management in California.
I think there's a real opportunity here to help the water agencies now work with these data and see how these data can help them improve and inform their planning.
Knight and researchers from UC Davis found something out of the Ice Age.
They drew an area on a map and said one of these end of the last glacial period paleo valleys has to be here. We took the airborne EM system and flew back and forth to see if we could find it, and we could. It was right there in the data.
These old paleo rivers were formed when glaciers during the last glacial period started melting quickly. The water carved pathways from the mountains to the valley, moving large amounts of rock and grain material.
It's like a fast path where if we can connect with it at one location, we can actually move water down deeper within the groundwater system of the valley.
For third-generation farmer Daniel Bays, the hope is that his kids may have the option to continue farming in California.
My hope would be that if this is where they want to live and they want to continue farming, that that's an option for them, that it's feasible and there's a long lifetime ahead of them where they can do that and pass that on to the next generation if that pleases them.
Carly Gomez joins me now. I mean, a lot of incredible research and information going on right now.
Yeah, there's so much happening and so much technological advances that are happening that just make this whole scenario so much easier to finally see what's underground and hopefully provide us a lot more resources when it comes to saving our water.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you, how do we get water down there?
Yeah, it's a big issue right now. There's obviously, we saw some things there where you can see it funneling down on its own naturally. And then you see those paleo areas where they're finally finding areas where they can actually do it themselves. And if we can detect those spots, we can maybe find a way to funnel some of that snow melt into those direct areas and find more ways to fill the underground water storage.
Thank you, Carly. And this conversation continues. Water Wasted is airing again tomorrow on To The Point. But meteorologist Brendan Minchef will be here to discuss the Delta Tunnel. It's arguably the most controversial water project in the state right now. That's tomorrow at 6:30. All right, 3 cars were pulled out of the Sacramento River today near Twin Cities and River Roads. Both of them ended up in the water because of car accidents. In all, divers found about 12 cars at the bottom of the river, leaving a toxicologist concerned.
It can cause serious consequences for fish and other critters. If the concentrations are high enough, they can actually then kill them as well.
Gas tanks can crack under water's pressure. Law enforcement is now matching license plates to the car's owners. Congress spent the day talking about UFOs. 3 retired military veterans testified at a House hearing after a former military intelligence officer turned whistleblower said Congress is being kept in the dark about unidentified objects in the sky.
These sightings are not rare or isolated. They are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena.
Lawmakers say that they plan to get more answers in a more confidential setting. And today, the music world lost another talented performer. Singer-songwriter Sinead O'Connor has died at the age of 56.
Nothing compares. Nothing compares to you.
O'Connor started her musical career singing on the streets of Dublin, Ireland. She became an international sensation in 1990 with her cover of Prince's ballad, Nothing Compares to You. She was named the Artist of the Year by Rolling Stone back in 1991. She was hospitalized last year after the death of her 17-year-old son, Shane. No word yet on what her cause of death is. And after the break, fans broke the internet trying to get a ticket, and now they're getting ready to see Taylor Swift in the Bay this weekend.
Believe I'm still bejeweled when I walk in the room. I can still make the whole place shimmer.
Taylor Swift's Eras Tour is about to come to Santa Clara. The city is making Taylor Swift mayor for the weekend during her 2-night stop. There will even be a special Capitol Corridor train to take Swifties from Sacramento to Santa Clara. So Raina says that she'll be driving for 3 hours to Santa Clara on Saturday morning and will be wearing her Eras-inspired hat that she's been working on since January. It looks pretty nice, I must say. And then we have Jennifer, who shared this photo. She says that she's going to both days of the concert, and she has her outfits planned and all bedazzled. And then Mandy, she posted this photo. She said that she's made about 120 bracelets for the 2-night concert, and people are making these bracelets so they can trade them at the stadium. So pretty cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.